Madam Chairman, I approach this debate in a slightly less certain and more inquiring way than the very eloquent mover of the motion. And I ask myself, what sort of media do we want to serve our constituents? I think that my own experiences of the media are quite well balanced. I have suffered from the media, but I've also benefited enormously from the media. And we know that all around the world, the lesson is that the strongest, safest societies have independent, raucous, cynical, and largely unfettered and disrespectful independent media. So that's what keeps us safe as citizens, and that's what defends our human rights and civil liberties. And the question is, where does Channel 4 fit into this? It seems to me that it caters for minority tastes and diversity in modern Britain. It aids inclusivity. Its news quality is outstanding. In the surveys that are independent, it is the most trusted outlet. Look at the experience of people like Cathy Newman, Jon Snow, Gary Gibbon and Matt Fry. And I particularly point the debate's attention to the coverage of Syria, the depth that was given, the decent length of interviews in what is the greatest humanitarian catastrophe that the world has faced in the last 2 decades. The numbers on the move into Europe absolutely staggering. And I draw the House's attention to For Sama, a film made by Channel 4, would not have been made by other outlets, brilliant, moving and shown in the House. And we've seen what Channel 4 has done for Paralympic sports on the Sri Lankan atrocities, and as recently as last night, praised by John Kerry for the Exxon revelations. Now, the Channel 4 is different from the BBC. It is true that all around the world the BBC is venerated. Particularly look at the work of the BBC World Service, and when I had responsibility for these matters, I increased their funding 9-fold because they are so important. And of course, the hugely elevated level of international coverage under James Landale is known to all of us. But unlike Channel 4, the BBC is an extremely establishment. It's often criticised by colleagues, particularly colleagues in government, for being biased. But the BBC try, obviously, to hold the government to account. And I would argue that in some ways the BBC is too close to the government, because it may pull its punches, because it is worried about the funding model or indeed the charter. So Channel 4, in my view, does occupy a unique position in our national media. And I come really finally to my questions for the Minister, who is an extremely experienced Minister in this area, and I hope that he will answer the questions when he comes to wind up. First question is, will he ensure that there is an impact assessment of this before rather than after the decision is made? Secondly, what evidence does he have that privatisation will encourage more content investment and more jobs? All previous reports, as the Honourable Lady said, including the government's own one of 2017, concluded that Channel 4's remit is better served in public ownership. Fourthly, has the government addressed the genuine dilemma, I speak here as a strong supporter of capitalism, of whether there could be a conflict of interest in pursuing public policy objectives where the pursuit of profit is the underlying model? Now, Channel 4 doesn't take money from the taxpayer. It's publicly owned, but commercially funded, and 100% of its revenue is reinvested in the organisation. It has a new headquarters, not in Birmingham, I regret, but in Leeds, which is out of London, which is very important. It's a huge boost to the British film industry through Film 4, and it commissions rather than producing its own programmes, which hugely stimulates and expands the private sector. Those are important matters, and I hope very much that in making his case, the Minister will address them.